everybody. My name is Bobby Fisher. It is my pleasure to present to you the third in our series of IronCAD productivity. What we're trying to do is show some of the tools that we have available to us. And the first one, we're going to get my mug off the screen, but I wanted to introduce myself. The first order of business today is I'm going to be talking to you all about, hang on, you lost my screen, wrong one, and yep, we don't want to see me, but you do want to see my screen. So today is all about reusing CAD models and how that can help you cut costs and how to optimize your design process. And what I'm going to be showing, and hopefully this is good. RJ, you can hear me okay, can't you?
Yes, I can hear you really good.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to introduce you first to our IronCAD team. This is our goals for today, and when we talk about reusing CAD models, actually, what are we talking about? I'll go through how it helps and how it helps you all get things done faster, and finally, how we can help make it happen for you. So this is your team. I just want to make people aware of who IronCAD is. We have well over 255,000 users in the world, so we are certainly a major player in the mechanical CAD market. We've been in this business for more than 20 years, so some real CAD leadership in the tools that we offer and the capabilities. And finally, we have a large international reseller community, and I want to talk about that just for a moment, because that community is where you can get a lot of help. You can get people who will provide you the type of training I'm giving you now. So, the whole idea of CAD models are worth a lot of money. And people may just think, well, this is just digital data. But that digital data has a lot of intelligence built into it. And the ability to use it and reuse it is of paramount importance. And I'm going to show you how that works. So we kind of think it's made the way to think, it kind of thinks the way you do. And so what I'm going to start out and going to spend a lot of time just in the product today. And this is the actual engineering challenge that I'm going to be presenting to you folks. And so just to understand it clearly, this is a simple enclosure. And now we have a single file here. And I called it webinar. And it's just one assembly at the moment. And this assembly contains, of course, a plate and a number of receptacles. And here's the challenge. Somebody says, I have one assembly, and it's this one, but I want to be able to sell multiple versions of this. And so what I mean by that, and I'm going to show it to you, this is the US version, and then I switched instantly in the same file to the EU or the European Union version. They use different power plates, as you can see. And then the third version that I'm going to show you today is the UK version. If you notice, the only thing that has actually changed here is this front plate with the cutouts and the different assembly here. So let's see exactly how that works. And I'm going to start over again. I'm going to just come into a simple enclosure so you can look at this is the way that I've started. There's nothing here. And, I think it's really important for me to point out, this is absolutely not our geometry. This is not something that was designed in IronCAD. This was perhaps imported data that we could have got from the internet or from I don't know exactly what these were, but this is a simple B-rep without any history. So the question is, how do I actually take this raw data in front of me that I'm looking at and turn it into the thing that we saw first, which is this with multiple different. All right, let me show you how we're going to do that. So I happen to know that I've got this casing, this housing that's made up of various different pieces, and I have 3 other files that somebody has sent to me or that I have gathered over the internet. They happen to be the front plates, and these front plates don't look anything like the plates that I'm using. They came off a different assembly. Look at another one, completely different assembly here, and then a third one here. So you could see that there's different power, there's different receptacles, things are in different locations. You can see, so there, one's on one side, one's on the other side. So how can I use the data from this file to ultimately create this. And it's really kind of neat how easy that is. So let's talk about it. We want to reuse data from this. Well, the first thing I need to do is that front plate doesn't have any cutouts. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the cutouts. And this is how easy it is to do that. I'm going to simply come in and say, I want to take some of the geometry from the front plate. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to touch this. That's what I wanted. That's where I'm going to be sketching, but I'm actually not sketching anything. All I'm really doing is saying, I want to take some of this geometry. And so I'm going to use a simple command, and this command is just project, and all I'm going to do is say project. What do you want to project, Bobby? And I'm going to say, well, I'd like you to take, oops, let me just undo that. I'm clicking over the internet, so things go a little fast. Undo what I just did, do it again, project. This time, I want you to actually just, come here, little guy. Give me lots of trouble. Do I want to zoom in? Why not? Just take this. And now what I have done is said, take that plane, and let me just hide everything so you can see. It just took that plane and said, I've created that flat geometry based on the front face. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. But I happen to know that this is way longer than the sketch I'm using, and I only want these receptacles. So not a worry in the world. I'm going to come in and just simply take this, and all I did was I'm just highlighting that geometry and deleting it. No special tools here, folks. I'm just taking exactly what I've got here. And now pick this up in a box and use what's normal to be, just copy it. That's all I'm going to do. I just said I wanted to take that information that we just got and I want to copy it into this file. So I've taken something from one and say, all right, now put it here. So control, copy, paste. And look, it copied it right inside this file. And so what am I going to do? Move it into position. And it's as easy as this. For those of you that are familiar with that tri-ball, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, medium, so you can see it. Good. So there's the tri-ball. Here's some neat tricks for those of you who know IronCAD. This is my tool for moving geometry around the screen. I can drag this geometry anywhere on this top face, but that's not where I want it. I want this geometry to be on this front face. So I'm going to use a really rapid trick, which is I want to grab this handle right here, the inner one, and I'm just going to click and hold with the left mouse button. I'm going to touch this front face, and don't argue with me. I'm going to undo that, Bobby. Click and hold this, make it a what, little guy here. Well, you're going to argue with me. I'm going to make you do it the old-fashioned way then. Let me just see. Where'd you go? This profile. Reset that. The global. Good. All right, there you are. Good. I want to bring this and I want to actually place it on this face. So where is it? Sitting there. I've actually picked it up and put it directly onto this face, as you can see now. So it's sitting there. Now, I have the ability of locating it exactly where I want, and this is kind of a neat idea. I'm going to unlock and for those of you who ever worked with non-native geometry, it's really interesting to know, one would assume, and I'm going to zoom in on this area down there, one would assume that I could say, take my tri-ball, and I want to put it to the center point, and it would try to find, this is not even a circle, it's a polyline. So the fact is, what I need to do is, I'm going to come in and say, I want you to take this, and now, instead of at the center, because there isn't one, I want you to measure for me and put it right at the location there. So I've actually placed it. Why? Well, that now allows me to move this exactly into position on this front face, and I can locate from a line, I can locate at any point. So I have an exact way of working this particular geometry. All right, so once I have it into the position that I like in the center of mass, and that's another thing I could do, I say, all right, good, it's where I want it to be. And if I touch it, this is kind of a neat thing, an advanced thing. There's only certain things I could do with that. Well, the easiest one is, I don't want to move it anymore, because that's what it said. You want to move it, Bobby? No, I want to extrude. Just go ahead, brings up this extrude wizard, and it says, I want to remove material, but it says, Bobby, where? oh, from this front face. So what I'm doing is now, it says from the front plate, excellent, remove material, great, be done with that. And now what it's done is it's given me this, and it's automatically, as you can see, it's cut through the front. So all I was doing was going to that other part, as you saw, taking the sketch geometry, placing it into position on this part, and using it to cut. Very easy, and never once did I had to actually go in and create changes. I'm just borrowing the geometry. I'm going to do the same thing again now, and instead of the sketch geometry, I'm going to be even smarter. I'm going to come in here and say, you know what? I really only want to take apart, and I'm going to take this screw right here, and I want, you know what? Shift select. I want all of this, and I'm just grabbing this geometry in the same way that I would use Microsoft Word or anything like that, just saying, okay, take this, and I need you to copy this geometry from this file, and I want to take it back to this file and just say, you know what? This is going to Control V, paste it in, and look what's happened. Now I've got the geometry from one file directly copied into this one. Let's take a look at what it is. Oh, all these receptacles. Great. Okay. I want you to take those receptacles that I've just brought into the part and, you know what, assemble them. Good. That's how difficult it is to create an assembly in IronCAD. Just copy and paste, cut them. Good. This is going to be the receptacles. And they're the actual US version. And I like that. So that's, I want to be able to use this, and I'm just moving this into the power conditioner. So here I have the receptacles. They're obviously not in the right place now. So, well, I do need to locate them. So what's an easy way? There they are. Turn on my tri-ball. And I notice it's not in the right position because it's in, you know, from another part. So just take this, put it at the center point of this little screw right here. And I happen to know that that screw, this one right there, that's where it should go. And now I can do the same thing I did before, which is say put this perpendicular to this face, so it's now facing in the right direction. And I actually want to pick up the whole assembly. Where do I want to put it? Remember, these aren't precise holes, they're just from non-native geometry. So I want to place that right into position, and I want you to measure for me from this point to this point over here. And now it's popped that directly where I need it. So there's the first one that we've actually done. We've actually taken this front plate, and if I say come in here and hide everything else, you know, this is where we've created our front plate. And of course, if I want to bring my receptacles back, unhide this. So, sorry, I showed this select. So you see, that's how quickly it was to drag the geometry from one and create this. And of course, as we're working, by the way, if this is a sheet metal part, at any time I want, I can come back and say, go ahead and hide this one again. I just don't want to have to see it right here. And you know, what might I want to do with this? I might be able to want to take this file and say, you know, it's actually a sheet metal part, and I could unfold it. I'm going to show you that all in a little while. Let me get everything back so we can see it all. So I've created my first one. So one of the neat things about IronCAD is that we can work in a single model environment. That means I have one environment here, but I can have multiple versions of the same assembly in here. So the first version I built was the US. So let's look at that and say, okay, let's try to take a look. Well, I got my front plate here. Bobby, I need another front plate, so I want to copy this and just paste it right in here, and I'm just actually I'm just creating another copy of each one of these so you can see it. You know what, give me another copy as well. I've got them right down here, each one of these, how they were created. You know what, just to show everybody, I'm gonna send these back to their original configuration. So if I just want to see that, let me take a look at this. Show me just this one. Could you see that's the original configuration? This is the one that I'm going to use now to create the EU version. So if you look at what we're doing, this is, let me rename this one. This is now going to be EU. There's the front plate for the EU. Let me show everybody again. Show all. And this next one, I'll show you a little trick here. This is going to be the UK from England. So I have 3 different versions of this front plate inside this assembly at the moment. So I've got 3 of them. And what might I want to do with that? Well, I don't want them all to be active, because that doesn't, that I can't put in this, I can't put in my assembly. So what I'm going to do now is say, I want to create a configuration inside this file. What that configuration means, well, if I've got a front plate that is specifically for the US market, I'm just naming it right now, this is my US front plate here. If I'm working in the EU version, I don't want to see it. So let's take a look at that. How would we do that? I want to create a new version, and this is called my US version of this file that I'm going to sell. And I'm actually going to pick these 2 things because it'll tell me if something's hidden or suppressed, not to include it. So now we are in the US version, and you know what? I don't want this plate here, so I'm going to say suppress it. You're not allowed to exist at this moment in time. Great. The only thing we're going to see is the front plate and all the different and the receptacles. Let's go do a new version now. What's the new version going to be? It's going to be the EU version. It'll be the next one I create. And what happens in the EU version? Watch this. This is really, I think this is so clever. So we're now in the EU version, but I haven't taught it. And in the EU version, well, obviously, I want this plate to be visible, but I don't want this one. So you go ahead and you're suppressed. And also, I don't want these receptacles because they're US receptacles. So go ahead and suppress all of those. So now I'm back to a plain old, now we're working in the front plate for the EU. I'm going to jump over to this different file. Oh, yeah. They use square receptacles over there, so now I need to grab geometry from here and borrow this geometry for the other part. How do we do that? That was kind of simple. Little sketch. Put a sketch right on this face because I'm trying to borrow that geometry. So there we are. We're on that front face, and what's it going to tell me? It's going to tell me, well, Bobby, show me everything, and double-click with the mouse, brings it all up. Gee, I just need that geometry for a moment, so I touch this page. All I'm looking for is 6 of these. I don't need these other ones. I only want 6 of them, so hide everything else. Come in here and say, let's just pick this in a box. I've got it done. I don't want any of you guys. You know what? I don't want any of you guys. Good enough. Delete that. And I'm just using simple deletions, just getting rid of what isn't necessary for me, just the geometry I don't need, because, and by the way, anytime, unlimited, undo and redo. So all of these things that I'm doing at any point, if I don't like what I've done, I can just come back and say no, redo, undo, anything. Because I just noticed, in fact, I would like to take over 6 of them, and I had said get rid of too many. So I'm coming back. Good enough. I could do it in the other file as well, and I don't want you either. Good. And you're going to go. So I'm just pointing at this geometry and saying, hey, I want to copy this. Copy this, take it into my enclosure, and now, same thing before. Paste it into this file. So there's the jump. And notice where it comes in. I don't really care where it's coming in because I'm going to be picking up and moving it anyway. And I'm going to decide that I actually want to locate this right at this little corner. So I'm going to use my mouse to zoom in on this corner, and I want to measure. Now I want from here to the other side, and that way, see what I'm doing? This geometry isn't precise because it's non-native. It wasn't created in our product. So I'm not entirely convinced, how good the geometry is, but it doesn't matter. We can work with any of this kind of thing. So perpendicular to this face, excellent, thank you very much. And of course, now I can pick it up and do something where I would put it into an exact position. If I wanted to, I could say, gosh, I want this to be located directly on this edge. And this is kind of neat. If I pull and drag, it'll stop on that edge. Great. Well, I want to move it over exactly 1 inch from the edge. So that was a great way for me to put this into position and ensure that it's at exact location. Like I did before, same idea, folks. I can come in and simply say, what can I do with this sketch that I borrowed? Of course, all of the options are right here. And again, I do the same thing where I say, I want to remove material. Watch this, it's quite clever. From this part, which part is that? Oh, it's the EU plate. That's exactly what I wanted. Great. Go ahead and remove the material. And as you can see now, just with a touch of a button, I'm able to just come through here and say, drag this through and cut through that plate. So you can see I'm taking the geometry from one side and using it over here. Love what I'm seeing. Going to jump into this EU, and now, oh, let me go grab those receptacles. So, you know, what do I need over here? I'm going to grab these parts. So, yeah, why not? Let me go grab a part. I definitely want this one. So I'm picking on this particular part. Come on, baby. This one, this one, this one. Come on, little fella. Sometimes this is a little bit slower over the internet. I know you can come with me. Hey, RJ, do you know a simple way to do this, or am I doing it the right way? Would you do it just like this?
He might be on mute. You can use box select.
Really? Just on those parts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want the outside parts, though.
Part, you can use the box select down there on the bottom right. Next to the part selector down at the bottom, there's a box select command. Just use that. And box.
Oh, really? Ah, that, and then I could use Shift Select to get rid of what I don't want, right? Can I do that? You know what? I don't even need to do that. I like what you just did. Thank you for that. Okay, that was really cool. So, oh, why won't it let me copy? Copy. Let me see if I can take it over to see why it's yelling at me. Can I paste it in here? Let's see what it gave. Nope, sorry. Wrong one. Let me go back and do it again. Let me get those. I'm just trying to get those parts, if you will. So if I set this to part and use my box select, in theory, I should just be able to get those, right? It's not giving me them all. I'm not going to fight it. It's okay. If it, you know, sometimes again over the internet, it can be something that can sometimes slow me down. Let me see if that even worked. Guys, help me out here. There, boy, it's really frustrating me. I have no idea why it's not letting me just get the, well, you know what? I'm going to take all of those. Edit, copy, and come over into the enclosure. Let me see. This, you know, I'm just going to paste it in now because I think this will give me all, yeah, all of those. And I can actually, from in here now, I don't need them all. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got one too many. That's okay. At one stage, all I need to do is say you. This one, I can actually get rid of it pretty easily. Over here, I believe. Oh, maybe not as easy as I thought. These ones are a lot of little parts. Let me look at this from the top. Run. There we go. Double click. Look at that. And I don't want you. Go away. Great. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So now I've got this and I want to put it into position. So again, I'm going to just bring this all up topsy-turvy, bring it back into position, and I want to take all of these, my new ones, my new receptacles, these guys that have come in there, I want to take that and put those into position. Well, how would I do that? Same thing as before. I want to be able to copy, and it's really kind of a neat thing because what I can do is, as we're looking at this geometry, you can see I'm looking to locate based on where the actual screw is. So I could take this and perfect, lock it into position just like that. So that's where the screw is going to go, and I need that to go exactly either at the center point, or I'm going to just come over here and say I want it to be right on this hole. So I'm actually placing that one screw right in the middle of this hole here, and you can see it's facing the wrong way. No big deal. I just say doesn't matter, just take this, make that now perpendicular to this face, and you can see, there we go. and I've popped these in from one side to the other. So you can see that this idea, this concept, and what have I been doing so far? Let me see if I have been doing my job correctly, because it's kind of easy to figure this out. We'll know very quickly. So we've got the part. You seeing this okay, Kerry?
Yes.
Great. So I've got the US version. Let me see. Yes, because what it says, the US version says turn off all the other stuff. Let's go and do the EU version. Is that going to work as well? Yes, of course, because it hides the other. So we're actually almost done, folks. We're almost at the point where I can say, all right, this is ready to put on a drawing, do a bill of material. Last step. All right, I'm going to actually create a new version now and actually look at it. What's that version going to be? This is going to be the UK. So the UK version of this file. Here we go. Just tell it that and make sure these new parts that I add are only included in the UK version. And the UK version says what? Well, these receptacles, let me just put these receptacles inside this assembly. By the way, it's not an insignificant assembly that we're working with. There's hundreds and hundreds of parts that we're now working with. Okay, these receptacles that I got, these are actually the receptacles that are for the UK. I just want to keep them clear. Wonderful. But now I'm in the UK version, so I'm going to say, well, they shouldn't really show up. So I don't want to see them. And you know what? This front plate shouldn't really show up either. So that goes away as well. But I do need a front plate. Well, which one am I going to use? This one right here. It was hidden before, suppressed. Okay, now we're back to everything we do from this point forward will only be on the UK version. So it's easy for me to say, all right, let's go and see what, oh, they have these funny round plugs. There's 6 of these funny plugs. Same thing again. Simple sketch, put my sketch here on this plate, great, project, grab that information from this file, however it was created. I just want to borrow the information that was created by this, and I have the same process again. Now I have the ability to come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm only going to do 5. So I'm coming in and saying, I don't need you, don't need you, don't need this one, and I don't need this one. And I think that's it. There might be one little more right here. Get rid of it. Good. These are the guys I want to borrow. Same thing as before. Copy this. All I'm doing is taking this geometry, copying it, bringing it over to this enclosure. I'm in this one, pasting it in here. There we go. Bring in my tri-ball, put my tri-ball into what seems to be a logical position on this you know what? I'm going to do it this time at the center of this hole. All right? Because what that lets me do is say, okay, that's going to, yep, I like that. And I want this to be located. And everyone knows, anyone who has used IronCAD knows that it's very easy to put this in an exact position. RJ, got a quick question for you, if I may. I don't want to use the extrude wizard. And I know that the extrude wizard is coming up. If I just touch this, is it always going to give me the extrude wizard if I, just do this? Because I didn't really want it.
Looks like it works.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you select that sketch and hit the actual extrude command on the ribbon, it'll go to the other command. That's what you're asking.
It'll go to the other command. That's what I wondered about. Okay, it's because I'm doing it up here. It's assuming.
Yeah, and those are those are customizable, so you could actually put both commands up there, so you could choose which one you wanted in that action bar as well.
Ah, very cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, because that's kind of what I wanted. By the way, I jumped back into the other file, and I don't want to bore everybody with this, but the idea that I'm taking parts from here. Oh, that's a nice little assembly. I noticed that. I could just grab the whole thing and copy that. This is nice. Whoever built this one, thanks, Joe, probably had an assembly in here, so I could just come in and say, okay, I want to paste these in. And you'll notice I've got one too many. So, I could look at it here in the scene browser and say, what are these, and actually come in and say which one don't I want, do I first, but yeah, I don't want you. That's actually an unnamed, and this is something that's very important for people to know. this geometry it's not IronCAD. This is not ours. We didn't build this. It's something coming from a third party, but it doesn't matter for us. We can very easily work with it. So what am I going to do? Put this at the center of this screw right up here, and then place that directly. That's the screw because that's where that's going to go. Good. And I want, I can even do it this way where I say this is going to be perpendicular to that face. See how easy that is just to do that kind of thing where I'm teaching it where it needs to go. And now you go into position between right here, please, in this geometry, right like this. And I now have this directly where I need it. So we have now done, in the space of about 20 minutes, we've actually, in a single file, created some really neat things that I want to show you all.
One thing there,
First thing was,
Bobby, that
yes, sir?
receptacles that you have suppressed, you named it receptacle UK. I think that's supposed to be a EU.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, so you don't get confused later, so just FYI.
All right, thank you. Yeah. I'll come back to it in a little while, but thanks for that. The whole idea that I'm in one file, and all I've done now here, those other files are gone. I have no links to them. I've created a version of this for the US market. I've created a version of it for the European market, and I've created a version of this for the UK market. And what's also really, really neat is this idea that I come in. I'm going to actually say something entirely different now. This is going to be the sheet metal version. And why am I doing this? Well, because I want a version that just shows. I'm going to show you something really neat. We're now in our sheet metal version. And I say, I want to be able to, hide everything. Just suppress all. I'm going to suppress you too. I want that suppressed. I'm actually just now suppressing absolutely everything because I just want to bring one thing back. And I'm going to just bring this back at the moment and say, I just want to work on the US. And can I see that plate, please? Why is that not showing up? Oh,
You have the
You're suppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You're suppressed at the top level.
Oh, I see. Thanks, guys. So, let me think about this. How can I just see one plate?
Select those other 4 assemblies or 5 assemblies and suppress them.
Thanks, guys.
Then
Good.
unsuppress your plate.
Thank you, because at the top level, I see it was said, hide everything in this. So the reason I like this is what I want to do is something kind of neat. This is obviously a sheet metal part. And so what would be kind of neat for me is I want to come in here and just say, all right, well, I want to convert this to I'm going to convert it. And I'm imagining that this is my face right here. And RJ, you can yell at me at any point. This is the face that I'm going to select that stays stationary, right?
Yeah, you can select either side, but if I was doing it, I would select that face as well because you're going to bend up on the brake. So,
okay. So if I've done that now, it's done this, and now I have a new part, right? This part here, which is my sheet metal part. Is that correct?
correct. You have a new sheet metal part now.
So it's actually taken a copy of this. And at this point, if I highlight this part, I'm able to just do something magical like this. So I've actually created the sheet metal version of this that I can now take to a drawing if I save this, of course. And now I have the ability to go back and say, okay, let's put this on a drawing. And I could do a very simple drawing of just this one, right? See how well I do. Yeah, perfect. I just want that. And notice now that I get a very fast drawing of this with the bend lines intact. And what I really love about what we've done, I'm in a single file. All those other files, everything that I have open, by the way, go away. I don't want you around anymore. I just opened you up so I could borrow geometry. So what I'm doing now is I don't need to open. Go away. I'm just, so I'm just leaving what I have, open at the moment and not worrying about those other things at all. So, by the way, anyone watching, check this out. I'm back to the US version. There it is. Everything that we're doing right here is perfect. I'm right back to that version. It lives in this file. Here's the EU version. This is one file that contains all of these different versions of this, plus can also contain, as I showed you a moment ago, the sheet metal or the unfolded, either one, and I can go back to showing you the unfolded part in a moment. It went back. I didn't keep it in its unfolded state. But so there, in a very quick way, we've actually done an enormous amount of work. Oh, I don't want to start Word. I want to start this. This is where I left off. Oh, no, be quiet. And you be quiet too. Get away from me. So what I've tried to show you is that I had these CAD models out there. And by the way, it didn't matter where I took this geometry from. I want people to understand that I grabbed it from a file that existed on my system, but I could have just as easily gone out on the internet. I could have just as easily gone out to Trace Parts and gone onto the internet, taken apart and brought it into IronCAD and done everything that we did. So I can go into, you know, the million plus parts here and work with it as if it were my geometry. So everything that we're doing, as you can see, is clear here. Now, why I believe this really, really helps. If you folks noticed something, is that I never once needed to create a reference plane. I didn't. I just used my tribal to put things into position. And that really, really saves time. The other thing is talking about, if you'll notice, all the time I was actually focused on the design, and only once or twice in the whole webinar did I ever need to go up here to this. I spent most of my time focusing on what was happening on the screen in front of me and never really needed to go through complex commands and figure things out. So it was simply cutting and pasting from one file to another. So it was kind of neat for me because I could concentrate on what I was doing instead of searching through commands, and I think that's really important. Another very important thing for my friends, anyone online with me who works with SolidWorks or Solid Edge or Autodesk or any of those, CATIA or UG, is that they have a lot of constraints. They work, you know, and that is a hugely, I could have done it. I could have used constraints if I wanted to, if I'm creating a mechanism, but I didn't need to. I needed to get my work done and create a series of assemblies, and that's what I did. And finally, this is really important. I didn't care how somebody built it, folks. I really didn't care. I designed it the way I wanted, regardless of how it was built, and that's a very important part. So why do we do this? We want to offer you 3D, faster 3D design. And this idea of using existing CAD models to create new products or new product line is a really efficient and effective way to work. So I'd like to thank you very much for helping. I mean, we have a whole team of people that are standing available to help you, and I'm more than happy at this point to take any questions that might come up.
So,
and I get to drink coffee too.
Yeah. If RJ wanted to see if there's any questions that you wanted to bring up here, I know one that came up, which was pretty interesting. You know, we didn't talk much about the catalog capabilities in IronCAD for this webinar, but you could take any one of those components that you were dragging and copying, you could stick those into a catalog and reuse them later for other designs as well. So if you were to take those receptacles, you could simply put them in a catalog, reuse them later. That's a very, very clever idea, and exactly that. What the heck did my catalog go? It's on the right. It covered up. Yeah, it was covered up by my GoToMeeting. Oh. Yeah, you can't see that. But yeah, what Kerry says is a very clever idea. I really, you know, I have my own catalogs that I use here, and at any point I could have taken this whole assembly without any work at all and just pick it up and drag it in here. And now I have it. The other thing I could have done, and as Kerry, I actually really like that idea, because the concept of being able to take these silly little pieces, either one at a time or all of them, and as you can see, I'm
I'm actually doing something that is quite clever, because if I needed more, well, now I have the ability to say, well, I want to drop them and use them here. And what's very, very where do you guys go? Oh, they're over there. I did drop them on the top face. What is actually really clever about what Carrie is saying is that we can build geometry that is so clever. I don't want to go into that. We could actually drop it and it would automatically do something like this, where that geometry will automatically create the hole that will actually go through the assembly as well. So there's a lot of intelligence that can be built into, and we have another webinar series. By the way, for folks that are interested in seeing this, we do have these webinars on the IronCAD site. We also have them on the IronCAD USA site. And just show that to you if people are interested in the webinar series on IronCAD or IronCAD USA. This is a series. The one we just finished again was the reusing CAD models. In a couple of weeks, we'll be working on direct edit, and then we'll be doing some tri-ball work. But these are all available. This is called the Productivity Series. And we're really excited to bring this kind of thing to you to show you how we can really improve your CAD productivity with IronCAD. Were there any other questions there, Carrie or RJ, my friends?
Yeah, there was a gentleman, Edgar, if you can hear me, he did have some questions on training and trial, as well as in addition some other questions in regards to parametric 2D. Edgar, if you can hear me, what we'll do is, okay, good. We have your information. We'll reach out to your area reseller so that he can get you more information on these questions that you're asking.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's the point I was making earlier, folks. The whole idea that we're going to make this happen. You're not on your own. You have 195 very, very competent resellers who are available, and our team at IronCAD who can help you all out. If we're good, I'd like to thank everybody very much for their attention. And if there are no further questions, we'll have this posted up real soon. I'd like to thank everybody for their attention, and it is my pleasure. My name is Bobby Fisher. On behalf of IronCAD USA, I'm really stoked that y'all gave me a chance to show you this today.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Thanks, Bobby. Good job.
My pleasure. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon.